Many of us collect house plants, and it's always nice to have your plants around the house. Now, what I do is I either collect, propagate, give some away, but then at the same time there are special ones that I do keep. Now this is a peperomia, and I've started collecting peperomias, and we had seen the watermelon one, which we did an episode on. And the beauty about these peperomias is that they're so easy to propagate, and so in the end you will end up with your own collection or quite a lot. And again, Christmas is coming, and this is my peperomia season, because last year I gave my watermelon peperomia to my family, but then this year I can actually do with this peperomia. So welcome back to my channel. My name is Alice. I will show you how to propagate this plant, and let's talk more about it so you can understand it. Now, this peperomia, why it is so popular is basically not because of its flowers. These are the flowers, they're little spikes that go up like this, but it's not because of their flower, it's because of their leaves. Now, if you look at these leaves, look at them, they're all crinkled, and at the back you have these deep veins that makes it look very special. Now, the other thing about it is the shape of the leaves. They're all heart-shaped. Look at that. It's such a sweet plant. And so it's this sort of features that makes it actually special. Another thing about why it is so popular is basically it loves to stay in a clump. And so what happens is it doesn't grow bigger as such. It just stays in its own little coziness, and it stays and remains this sort of shape. So even as you have it, it's not a plant that if you put it on a desk, it'll overflow and then you'll have to move it. It just stays as compact as this, so you can have it on your shelf, you can have it on your desk, or even in your kitchen. The other thing is when you do touch the leaves, it is quite sturdy and rubbery. But again, with these leaves, this is where the peperomia actually stores its water. And they do classify this peperomia as a semi-succulent plant. And another reason why people do love the peperomias is basically they're low light lovers. And so you don't have to put it in direct sun. So even if you do have an apartment that is has low light, a peperomia can survive. Now, the thing about peperomias is that, as we mentioned, they are semi-succulent plants, but they don't really do behave like succulent plants. Now, the thing is that, again, with the soil, when choosing the soil for this particular peperomia, do have a well-drained soil. I would actually go for either a cactus soil, or else if I'm making my own, I would actually put pumice inside, maybe a bit of perlite so we can get the drainage, or even make up my soil with topsoil and river sand, which again will give you that good drainage. Now the thing is that with watering again is that peperomias don't want that water sitting around its roots. And if we will look at it in detail, is that all these shoots come from a central place. So if you do overwater it, what happens is it will affect that whole area, and you will get stem rot and you will get root rot. So in order to avoid that, you could either moderately water it and always do your finger test, but if the soil is still wet, don't bother to water it. The beautiful thing about this plant is that as it does dry out, it will let you know when it wants water, because all these leaves will just droop, and then you know that your baby needs some water. Now, the thing about this plant is that, first of all, the peperomia has very shallow roots. And basically, if you actually do look at it, is that everything starts from the center, and this is where the leaves come out, the flowers come out, and all these other leaves come from the central place. Now, the thing is that because of that, it likes to live in a clump. And because it is in a clump, it doesn't grow any bigger. Don't think of starting to repot your peperomia, because basically it loves to be in this clump. And if you do separate it, you may actually kill the plant. Wait until it does get bigger, maybe in a year, 2 years, and then see how to separate it. But if you immediately go in there and try to tear it apart or separate it, it doesn't like that. It likes to live in a small pot. And again, being in a small pot makes it comfortable. So even as you do want to repot it, for example, is don't move it into a bigger pot, a much bigger pot, because this plant likes to be cozy. Another point I'd like to make is don't be shocked if your peperomia is not growing at the speed that you want, because peperomias, especially this variety, are quite slow growing plants. So don't panic. Now, with the peperomia, it needs at least 3 to 4 hours of sun. Now, the thing is that, as we said, it does like low light conditions, but don't in a situation put it really against a window, because what happens is that it starts burning the leaves. And then secondly, what happens is that the leaves start to transpire, in that it loses a lot of moisture, and you will find that your plant, the leaves will droop. However, the next thing is that you have to find a balance of the window and where you want to put your peperomia, because what happens is that if you put it too far away from the light, what happens is the plant cannot really fully photosynthesize all its nutrients and do the normal thing. So what happens is that it actually doesn't get enough nutrients, and then it'll die. Seeing that this is a tropical plant and it does actually survive, but anything under than 10 degrees Celsius, it can't cope with that. And during winter, as I mentioned earlier, it does slow down its growth. So basically, during the winter period, I would actually try to move it closer to the light, where it would get a bit of heat from the window. And then another tip is, if over winter, is try to give it less water and don't feed it with any fertilizer, because it has gone into a sort of dormancy period and it doesn't require all this sort of water and fertilizer. Just let it be little drops of water, and as soon as the spring comes, then you start to increase the water intake. So in essence, I think in conclusion, is the peperomia is a lovely plant, and I mean, look at that, it's beautiful. But the only two problems you will get with the peperomia is regarding water. You either overwater it, as we've talked before. When you overwater, you will get root rot, you will get stem rot. And then also, because of the compactness of the plant, you may even start getting all sort of little fungal infections and also mealybugs. So those are the things that you have to be careful about. Now, another indication is that if you have underwatering, again, as we said, the plant will let you know by the drooping of the leaves that I really need to have a drink of water. But the other sort of signs is when the leaves do curl, is that basically it's trying to protect itself from the transpiration, losing all that moisture. So that could be another indication that it's time to water your plant. And so if you do have a problem with overwatering, if you see the signs earlier, what I would actually do is take the plant, remove it, and repot it in a different soil that is dry, and then start the process again. Because if you do leave it there, the leaves, it will get at the center, it will get all mushy and you won't be able to save. But if you do catch this earlier, is just remove the plant from the pot and repot it, and then start the process again. So once we've gone through all that, is that propagation of the peperomia is actually very simple, and we've done this before when we were dealing with the other type of peperomia, the watermelon one. And it's just basically what I'm going to show you is how to do a soil propagation. So with this little baby of mine, which is really compact, is I'm going to actually bring this one here, and I thought we could do 2 stems in each. In that way I have enough supply for Christmas. So what I'm going to do here is take my scissors, sterilized scissors, and I'm going to go in here. Now you see, the thing is that as the peperomia grows from here, this is where the babies come, and then as they get, the older ones are the ones which are at the bottom here. So this is where I'm going to aim for. So I'm just going to go in here. So what I've done is I'm going in here and actually picking out my stem, and then this is what I am going to do. I'm taking this one here. There's so many leaves and you don't want to get into the wrong place. Okay, so here we have our leaves. Now the thing about, as we've done before, is that with stem propagation, all you need to do is actually cut your stem, and this is organic. This is really organic. It's a lot of compost. It's got a bit of cocoa peat and all those sort of goodies. So all I'm going to do is take the stem and place it in here, and then within a month I should actually have my rooting. So if you just take it and just submerge it, just like that. That's one. Just submerge it, just, oops, let's go in here. Just like that. And so with these, all these, my Christmas presents, is just submerge them all the way down. This is a good one. And you could, if you take a bigger pot for propagation purposes, a pot this size, for example, you could put them all around and have many more for propagations, many more stems. But I just choose to have 2 in each tub. So I'm going to place this one here. And then the last one, I'm going to place it here. So these are my soil propagation, and I'm just going to keep them in here so I can water it so it doesn't splash everywhere. So what I'm going to do here is just a drop of water. And with this sort of propagation, what I do is I'll take it and keep it in indirect sun and just keep checking. The soil should be moist but not soggy. But then what I always do sometimes is I sometimes water from the base. So instead of actually doing too many of the top watering, is I just simply put water in this plastic like that and let it soak upwards. So now that's our soil propagation. Now these are ones that I did a few weeks ago. And what I've noticed actually is that because I had them in the greenhouse, which has a bit more sun, and we know that these lovely babies don't want to have direct sun on them, is what happened is that it actually changed its color. Some of the babies here, which are covered, actually have the same purple and red tint, but the top ones actually changed from this purplish red and has gone green, but not to worry. Now what I have done is, this is my lovely, where is my gloves? this is my lovely soil, and as we said, the semi-succulent plant, it isn't a cacti, but it does like well-drained soil. So what I have here, and also we must realize, and mustn't forget that one, is that they are tropical plants. So this sort of mixture is what I put together, is what it would have in the tropics, in those forests, and it would be a really well-drained soil, but again very dense in organic matter, and I think it'll really do well here because also the water will go straight down. So this is my plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoop it out so we can have a look. And this was a simple, just one stem soil propagation. So I'm going to just scoop it out, and then we have a look at the rooting. Here we go. So that's my first propagation. Let's check the rooting. And I think why we don't see so much, okay, you can see a bit of rooting here at the base, but again, remember that it does have a very shallow root. So I think this would be adequate. Now, if you look more closely, as I said, is that all the babies are coming from one central place, and this is how it happens. So now what I'm going to do is just simply make my hole in here, and then just put our baby in there. The soil is already moist and not soggy. There we go. So that's propagation number 1 here. It's always lovely when you get the babies forming, really exhilarating. So now we'll take the other one out again, same thing. This is again the same mixture. I'm just going to mix it around a bit, my rainforest soil, or full of rainforest goodies. And so the last propagation is here. I don't want to remove this other baby because it didn't take off. Here she is. So again, this is actually quite interesting, because what has happened here is I have 2 propagations. So this is one stem and it's actually taken off, but then the other one here is actually starting to take off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take both of them, because I can see these little stems are starting to develop here, and I'll just plant both of them like that. And I'm so sure is let it develop, and let's see what happens there. Okay, so here we go. So that is my second propagation. Now this little baby here didn't seem to take off, but I am so sure. Do you see it? It's already, there's a stem coming up here. But I think what I'm going to do with this one is actually still leave it here and let it get full like those ones and stronger. And then with that, I can always put it in another pot. So I'm going to put it back in here. And with a bit of luck, in a week or so, it should have taken rooting. I'm just going to cover it like that. We'll wait for this propagation to work and I'll post it on Instagram, but I'm sure it's going to be a success, but we'll give it time to actually develop its stems. So there we go. So basically, this is what we've done, is that we've taken the stem and we've actually done a stem soil propagation with it. We've seen the results of a stem soil propagation, and we're going to give this one time to let its baby shoots to come up, and then again I'm going to repot that. So thank you, fellow gardeners, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Don't forget to like and share, and also subscribe, because it does mean a lot to us. And don't forget to press that notification button We always upload our videos on Tuesday. Sometimes we do have a delay, but basically it's always 99% on a Tuesday evening. And don't forget to send me your comments. I always love receiving your comments, and I do always reply. And also on Instagram, have a look at our Instagram. We load so much stuff, all my favorite plants. And if you do ask me questions, DM me. I always am there to answer. So thank you so much. And do go and buy yourself one of these plants, because they are great for the house and they're very compact and they don't take so much space, and they're very easy to actually propagate and to look after. So have a pleasant day. Thank you so much.